Hello everyone. I think I'm going to start with what I consider to be the pertinent news when it comes to the war in Ukraine, and then address some other things. So, let's dive in. Russians struck a cafe in a frontline area in the northeast of Ukraine, killing 2 people and wounding at least 1 other person. This was near the city of Kupiansk. That was temporarily occupied by Russians and then taken back last year, almost a year ago exactly, by the Ukrainian forces. And obviously Russians, being the sore losers that they are, remind you of somebody, are trying to take it back. And because they can't, they keep killing civilians. In addition, there was at least 1 dead, 1 wounded in the Zaporizhzhya region. And while Kiev forces are making slow progress in that area, which is good news, fighting is brutal there. And again, because Russians just don't know when to quit, they continue indiscriminately shelling civilian infrastructure, civilian targets, and civilians, bringing forth new casualties and more wounded. The rest of the news continues to revolve around the death of Wagner chief Prigozhin. One of the big items is this one. This is in The Guardian, but it appears in other sources as well. Reuters has it, Euronews, Al Jazeera, pretty much all of them. And so basically, Putin is saying that Prigozhin's thugs have to sign an oath of allegiance to Russia. And here is the problem with that. There was a gray area that group was dwelling within. They were a private mercenary company. So they got to move around. They were under some government control, but only some. Okay? And they were very well paid to do what they did, which is, rape, pillage, murder, you name it, they've done it. So if they sign up with the Russian army, that puts them directly under the control of Russian government. Their movements are going to be severely restricted. They will have to go where they're ordered by the government, not by their chief. And their pay is going to be miserly compared to what they're used to making. So there is still a chance that the disgruntled, unhappy Wagner group is an unbalancing factor when it comes to what's going on in Russia. Now, it's hard to tell what exactly they're going to do, but we have here people who, for at least a decade, have done nothing but engage in illegal, violent activities all over the world. And so, good luck bringing them under control, especially after assassinating their leader. Belarus President Lukashenko is changing his tune. So, in the past, as recently as a month ago, he said that he guaranteed Prigozhin's safety. Now he's saying that actually he did no such thing, there was no such conversation, and he warned Prigozhin and his associates at least twice that they might be in danger. And again, there's lots of speculations as to how the airplane destruction was achieved. And as I said before, we may never find out how it was done, but we know who did it. Now, let's talk about some other things because I think we need a refresher. So I had to block some people recently who clearly were parroting Russian propaganda. So I want to give you like a little crash course in terms of the timelines and what's going on and addressing some of the common Russian bot talking points. So let's start with, let's see what the first one. Ukraine should have stayed neutral. Ukraine was neutral until 10 years ago, October of 2013, when Russia derailed its trade deal with Europe. Remember, it wasn't a EU membership, it wasn't a NATO membership, it's just basically updated terms of agreement for their trade dealings. Russia derailed it. At the time, pro-Russian Ukraine's President Yanukovych bowed to Russia, and Ukrainians got fed up, overthrew him. Maidan happened in January, February, and then Russia walked in March of 2014 and hacked off Crimea. So, Ukraine was neutral up until that point, so don't give me that crap. Next, Russia is just protecting Russian-speaking minorities living in Ukraine. That is a lie. Russian-speaking minorities in Ukraine were never in any danger to begin with the exceptions of those living in the east of Ukraine who invited Russian militants onto their territory and thus committed treason. Treason is a crime. But having grown up in a mixed nationality family in Soviet Ukraine when it was still part of the Soviet Union, I can tell you that the people who did the bullying, not the people who were bullied, but the people who did the bullying were largely those of Russian nationality. They treated those of us who were not Russians, especially the mixed bloods like me, like absolute crap, like inferior human beings. They themselves were the superior class. So Russian nationals in Ukraine were not in any danger. Nobody was harassing them. And the last but not the least, somebody said Ukraine is violating the terms of Minsk agreement. And what about Russia violating the terms of Minsk agreement? It invaded Ukraine. It disregarded the territorial integrity of its neighbor. It violated the peaceful terms of trade between Ukraine and other countries. And it's put the rest of the world on the brink of world grain shortage. So I hope that answers some questions. Please don't post crap like that on my channel. I'm sick and tired of you if you do that. I'm just going to report you for dangerous misinformation. Depending on the nature of your misinformation and how you formulate it, I might report you to the FBI for possible collaboration with Russia, and then I'm going to block you. Hope that helps.